What's up, Madridistas? Kian Sobani here. I know it's been a grim few days, and I'm traveling back from London now. I'm in the airport, and I wanted to share something more positive, I guess, to take your mind off of what's been happening in London, but really all season. As you guys know, therapy session number 99 we're at now. So, um, want to thank everyone who came out to our London podcast last night. It was amazing seeing new faces, seeing some familiar faces that have been coming to our London podcast over the last X amount of years. This is our third podcast in London, so we're starting to get to know you guys in person, which is really nice. And it's an honor for me, and I wanted to say thank you. Pretty much what happened at that live podcast last night will stay for the people who are there. I don't think I'm going to post it. And if I do, I'm not going to post the whole thing. It was almost a couple hours long and quite a fun atmosphere. But given that it was also like 30% of watch along and a lot of noise and just hanging out, I'm not going to post the whole thing. But I wanted to say thank you to everyone who came out. Secondly, this is a clip taken from a podcast I did last week with Musa Okonga of Stadio FC. Terrific podcast they do on the Ringer Podcast Network. A lot of you guys know Musa. He is one of the most requested guests we get on the podcast, and it was a pleasure for me to finally connect with him. It was one of, honestly, not even exaggerating, one of, if not the most enjoyable conversation I've had on this podcast ever. And I've been doing it since 2015. Musa is the type of guy who was like a seamless managing Madrid podcast fit. The conversation was effortless. We have so much in common, and he is a historian of the game. He knows more about Real Madrid, despite not being a Real Madrid fan, and their history, probably than like 95% of Madridistas I know. And I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not trying to insult any Madridista, including myself. He just is a student of the game and loves watching not just his team, which is Manchester United, but also Real Madrid, Arsenal, and whoever. Um, and so we spoke for an hour, and we had to cut it there because we had to. Musa had to go. Otherwise, it would have gone for multiple hours, no question. We got into a conversation unexpected, unscripted, and this was not part of the agenda at all. We talked about the Real Madrid versus Manchester United battles, and specifically how Raul just murdered them, basically. And then we got into talking about some of the great players of the past and some of the formations Real Madrid used at the turn of the century, and it was a lot of fun. So I clipped that segment and put it here for you guys to enjoy. It is timeless; it's not time sensitive, so we have a lot of content. Don't feel overwhelmed. This one, if you want, you can put on the back burner for a day that you're not consuming our content. The full episode is over on patreon.com/managing Madrid. Alternatively, if you're on YouTube and you're not on Patreon, I put the direct YouTube memberships link to this podcast in the show notes and the comments. All right. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the clip, and signing off from the airport, Kian Sabani. Take care. Halamari.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into some relevant talking points about what's going on right now, uh, someone told me that you're a Manchester United fan, and
Yes, for my
right,
sins. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
since like, are we talking about like way back, like your OG?
Oh goodness, yeah, like mid 80s, man. Mid to early 80s, yeah, early to mid 80s. Yeah, yeah.
Can I
Since I was a
ask
youngin.
you about some of those Real Madrid battles since like I guess
Of course.
2000? I think we've had several.
I mean, the Modric one, man, the one that
Yeah.
killed us. So Alex Ferguson's final season. That was the when Modric came and showed us the levels. It's funny because I saw that brief chat you had about Modric being a top 10 Real Madrid player. And at first I was like, damn, there's a lot of players who played for Real Madrid. Then I did a list. I was writing down, I was going, hang on a minute. Like, because if you look at the leadership, and we come back to that classic tie with United, the Nani red card and the Modric banger from distance, you come down to that, and you're like, wow, Modric is like, if you, because Real Madrid, there's like these criteria, but real, it's leadership and the Champions League. Who has exhibited leadership for Real Madrid in the biggest tournaments of all? And Modric basically was the catalyst. La Decima, then there's three in a row, and then the sort of the last hurrah, the last dance, almost 22. Like, he's been there for all of it. So Modric really, I think that's the one that stands out. And then also you got the Ronaldo, oh my God, the Ronaldo hat trick when he comes off after like an hour. Is it 2003?
Yeah.
And he's meant to be injured, and he beats Rio Ferdinand in a foot race. One of the fastest defenders, and he turns him into a milk cart. Like, that whole sequence, like Ronaldo, genuinely, there was something about Ronaldo post-injury that was almost spectral. Like, he wasn't meant to be that good, and he came and just elevated. I feel like, and then the Zidane, obviously, the Zidane demonstration against Beckham, the 3-0 was 3-1 in the end in the first leg of the
3-1. Yeah.
Bernabeu, but it should have been 6. Like, it should have been 6-0. And it was like, there was a lot of talk about Zidane versus Beckham, and Zidane came in, and there's a move, and I still can't work out what he did in the halfway line. He beats him, and it looks like
Yeah.
bullfighting.
Yeah.
It's bullfighting, isn't it? It's like a matter. It's like astonishing. So I think those three, and I have to say, all three of those have been kind of footballing demonstrations. And there's something about Madrid playing in all black. The black and the gold with Redondo at Old Trafford is
Yeah.
just, yeah, man. So yeah, there's been a few, but we've lost all of those, but they've been an education.
Well, it's funny, you go back through all those games
Mm,
for whatever reason. I guess for the reasons you mentioned, they're
mm.
just the most memorable Real Madrid games of like growing up for
Wow.
me.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there was just something about the stage when these two play each other. The stage is
Mm,
so massive because of how big these two clubs are,
yeah.
and then everyone's watching, and the show that I remember exactly that moment you're talking about was Zidane and Beckham. It's almost like
Mm.
Zidane just turned the game into slow motion.
It's astonishing. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh my god. The only other moment I can compare it to was the goal he gets against Deportivo
Yeah.
in the early 2000s, when he
Yeah.
basically, like, it's like ice dancing,
Yeah.
like flicking the ball under his feet. Oh, it's just, I was watching, it was like 2 goals in the first 6 minutes. And I was watching, I was like, there is a thing that Madrid do when they go into overdrive, like no one can touch it. And the name of your podcast is, it's Managing Madrid, and actually managing Madrid is extremely difficult. There's a lot of doubt of Ancelotti, but the only other coach in the world at the moment that could actually do what Ancelotti's doing and do it better is probably Hansi Flick, weirdly enough. Like, because it's not just the tactics of Madrid, it's the unique ability to, like, channel what is in the dressing room and give on the center stage, because Madrid is not like other clubs. Madrid is not a club where players want to be shielded from the limelight. They want it. They want the ballroom dance floor. They want the spotlight. So how do you honor the spotlight, honor their freedom, and protect them from everything else so they can have that? Like, this is the reason I talk in these terms is because there's something uniquely epic about that shirt, I think. But we'll get into that later in the podcast. This is preamble.
Well, in the Redondo year, I think that was 2000.
Yes.
Um, what I remember from that is that Real Madrid were not good that year overall.
Mm,
I think we were 5th in the league, and if we hadn't won the Champions League that year, we would have not qualified for the year after.
mm,
We were so bad in the league. And that same season, we lost to Bayern 4-1 and 4-2 in the group stages. The Manchester United game, nobody gave us a chance. Like back then, this was when Real Madrid were just in a rut. They were not playing
mm.
well. And that United team was loaded. Like it was one of the best United teams of the past, 25,
Yeah.
30, maybe ever.
Yep.
So no one gave us a chance, and I remember even the fact that we drew the first leg 0-0, I think it was, and that was a
Yes.
surprise. But the conception was that okay, well, United will just take care of business at Old Trafford, no question. And I remember the Roy Keane own goal,
Yes.
and
Horrifying. Horrifying.
and Raul just kind of put the team on his back, and then of course the iconic Redondo thing, and then United,
Raul went to the moon in that game.
yeah, he loved playing against Manchester United. He had some great goals against you guys.
He was Thomas Muller of that generation in terms of, that's
Yes,
unfair. That sounds unfair on Raul, because
no, he
technically
was.
Raul,
Because he's an
but in terms of,
intelligent player who's more known for that than his technical ability.
although like Muller, the technique was vastly underrated. I think that Raul's technique gets more credit than Muller's gets. Muller's technique is much better than given credit, but the connective tissue, I use that phrase a lot, but the ability of him to be the connective tissue of that team in attack. I mean, he basically played as an 8 a lot of the time.
Yeah.
In a couple of, but insofar, I mean, well, so did Di Maria. Like that Madrid midfield is so interesting because it's very, it's nebulous, it's shapeless. It's basically whoever wants to take responsibility. I mean, you look at, like, Steve McManaman now, well, so back then, and like Danny Ceballos is kind of the heir to the throne in that role, Like, what exactly did McManaman do? well, actually, he had very good technique, moved the ball on very quickly, 1-2 touch. And the thing about that Madrid team in 2000, what frightened me was I'd seen what Redondo was capable of many years before. I mean, he's maybe like my top 5 favorite Madrid player. Like, I love Redondo. I love Redondo. And seeing him in it was a second leg of a Champions League semi-final. Actually, I think he did it against 2 German teams. He did it against Dortmund and against Bayern. 2 incredible second legs where he basically just plays keep ball. I think the Dortmund game, it's like super windy in one of the semi-finals, and they have to get like a draw, and they go away to Dortmund. They're already, I think, 1 or 2 up Madrid, and Redondo just doesn't lose the ball in the wind, and it's like horrific in the Westfalen Stadion. And I'm like, this guy's like a god. Like, the final that Redondo plays against Valencia in 2000 is actually better than his performance against United.
Mm. It was
It's,
yeah, it was
it's, it's
masterful.
I don't think he gives the ball away in the second half. It's like, and he's not making easy passes. Like, he's killing them. A very good Valencia team, and he's absolutely just like, yeah. I sometimes rewatch that game.
That I love how the details that you know about this club and remembering such specific details from 25 years ago of a team that you don't even support. I love it. You don't even see Real Madrid fans this this obsessed. I want to ask you this then because you
Sure,
brought this
sure.
up. This is Real Madrid's. Can you see the screen?
Wow. Yes, I can.
So
Oh my
this
god.
is Real Madrid's starting lineup in the Champions League final against Valencia.
Yeah.
Would we ever see something like this today? It's kind of weird, right?
Ah, you know what? Yes and no. Yes and no, because weirdly, it's funny you should say this because I was thinking, what would be a great formation for Real Madrid post Ancelotti? And I was actually thinking it would be this.
Hmm.
Weirdly enough, I was thinking it'd be this. I'll tell you why. Because you've got you can unleash Camavinga as a left wing back, Valverde can combine as a right wing back, and if you sort out the centre back situation, which I think you're not that far off doing, you've got a really nice configuration there. I think actually 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 actually liberates Real Madrid really, really well. I know that's a bit of a hot take, but it's so funny because I was literally thinking, listening to your most recent episode, going, oh, actually, post Ancelotti, what does it look like? What actually liberates these players? And I think this could actually be part of the story. Not like forever because you've got all that attacking talent. You've got Rodrigo in the mix as well. But I think in particular games when you're rotating, I don't think this is a bad look. Anyway, so yeah, that's a bit of a hot take to throw at you.
Well,
But
it's funny because you were talking about the versatility of Raul and like the fact
yeah,
that he's known primarily as being a forward, but the fact
yes,
that so much of his career was behind like 2 strikers, Anelka
yes.
Morientes or Mihatovic Suker, and
Mm,
just getting this left wing slash midfield role and still being the highest scoring player on the team while doing a lot of dirty work. Really underappreciated player. I don't know, like I don't know what your take on this Musa is, but
mm,
for me, like he is now become the most underrated like Real Madrid star because everyone
yes.
who talks about the Galacticos talks about Zidane and
Mm,
Figo and Ronaldo Nazario. And I don't know if you
yes.
in the did you see the Beckham documentary?
Yes, I did. Yes, yes.
So in that, like they were talking about, there was a whole segment about the Galacticos. They
Mm.
named and showed every single player except for Raul. I was like, hold on, wait a second. Where's the man himself?
Yeah, but weirdly, that's kind of how Raul liked it.
Yeah.
Have you seen that film, The Professional, Leon, the assassin movie?
No, it's on my list. Yeah.
Okay, so there's like the whole point of that assassin is you just don't see him coming. And Raul, I think Raul loved that. Like no one likes to be underrated, right? Until there's 5 minutes to go and it's 2-2. And then it's the best time to be underrated because no one's looking for you. And I think Raul consistently, if you look at that team, for example, look at that team. You had Roberto Carlos was a bigger star on the left flank than Raul was. And the genius of that, Roberto Carlos, like what he could do in terms of his engine, he could take up 70 yards
Mm,
of that flank. So you had like that's why Zidane was able to play that inside left role the whole time because he knew that Roberto Carlos was always going to be at his shoulder, like within like 2 seconds of him asking for it. So it allowed the overlap, and that then allowed Raul to tuck in this kind of like early Di Maria role where you've got a guy that's actually a wide forward tucking in, or a centre forward or central forward or a drawn striker. It allowed that sheer energy from the left flank, allowed Raul to tuck in and go under the radar. Now, that's not great post career because when you want a legacy, as all footballers do, it kind of sucks to be underrated, right? But the thing about Real Madrid, the key thing about Real Madrid is like those who know. Like it's not really like how many Real Madrid players have retired in the city? because they know they're never going to get love like that anywhere else. It's like actually it's almost like players that take refuge in Madrid, because look at Camavinga, right? The guy hasn't scored a league goal for 3 years, and people are still not sure what his best position is, how good he's going to be, all the rest of it. But like Ancelotti knows, and that's all that matters. All that matters is the trophy cabinet. So yeah, he's underrated, but outside the walls of Madrid, does it really matter? In a funny way.